Hey, what's up, Cruk? Quick demo video for you for your Odin's Wrath. This was made by Jawas Junkyard, right? So just finished this up early this morning, actually, but I've been JB welding this shroud on all day. It's really not completely cured yet, but it's probably there enough where I can do this demo. I'm just going to take it easy. There's a lot of stuff going on in this guy, right? First of all, on the outside is the wood veneer. I've never done wood veneer before. So I had to give myself kind of a crash course on that. And then my buddy Patrick actually sent me the instructions from Jawa's Junkyard as well. So that was helpful to get the handle on. And then you have a piece of wood veneer that wraps around here just like that, right? You can see it right there. So there's that. We got those on. I did that probably last week. And then I've got a second Odin's Wrath here that I'm doing for someone else. So I did that at the same time too. With this shroud, it was kind of interesting because when I JB welded it, I put it on exactly 180 degrees from this greebly right here. But then I went to go look at it probably about an hour or two ago, and I noticed I couldn't get to your blade retention. So if you can see that, your blade retention's right here. I did shift the shroud over a little bit so that I could get to it now. But when I noticed that on yours, I immediately ran over to this other one that I was doing because I thought I'd had the same problem. But this hole is where it's supposed to be, right? So like you can see the two holes right there. You've got one here, which acts as like a pixel holder. And then, right above that, you've got your blade retention screw. These are lined up right, so I didn't have to move this shroud. Yours are not. So you can't even, oh yeah, you can. Your PCB holder screw is right here. And then you can see up in here is your blade retention, if you can see that right there. I scooted this shroud over just enough where you can get an Allen wrench in there and everything's fine. But yeah, that was kind of an odd thing on yours. I've only done two of these. I've got this one and then the other one that I'm working on. So that's all I've got to go by, right? But I did catch that in time, so you won't have to worry about that. And then we got the wood veneer on here, and then all the associated greeblies that go on it, right? Um, One thing interesting about this build is that your switches are actually on your handle. So you've got that's your activation switch, and then over here, this blue guy, that's your auxiliary. But in order to take this handle off to access your battery and your board, these switches need to come out. So they're on magnets, right? You can actually take this orange one and you can pull it right out with your finger just like that. And then if you can see that magnet on there, it's got a little tiny magnet on there. But with this blue one, you're not going to be able to get it with your finger. It's a little bit cumbersome. I've got these tweezers right here that I use, and I go on the inside of this guy and I pull it out. And I gotta do it while I'm looking at it though, just like that, and it comes out. So what you want to kind of do is you don't want to grab it and pull straight up on the switch. You kind of want to, if I can show this on camera, put it in there and kind of push up against the side as you're yanking it out, right? Don't try to just pull it straight out. You're just going to slide off the switch. So there's a trick to it. I think once you do it once or twice and you get the hang of it, then it'll be easy for you like me. It was tricking me at first, but then I did it a few times and now I've got the hang of it. So hopefully it doesn't give you too much problems, right? So once you take those two switches out, from here and from here, now you can take your handle and you can unscrew it. And we're just going to unscrew it just like this. I really wanted you to have removable battery. There's really no need that you couldn't have it. This chassis is humongous, right? So, here's your chassis. You got your removable battery system right here. So spring sides are negative by your board. Here's your Proffie board. You can see that right there, right? And then your switches, they have magnets on them too, if you can see that in the camera. So there's a magnet on that guy, and then also there's a magnet on here. So essentially, right, when you have this handle on, these guys just pop on there just like that, and that's how you actuate your switch, and that's how they stay on when the handle's on. So just remember to take those off before you unscrew your handle, or you're going to have a bad day, right? So you might notice this white strip right here. So what I did here, you have a long piece in this handle right here. It's just a long bent. right? I wanted to light that up. I'm not sure what other people do. Um, there's a lot of times when I do sabers that are new to me, I try to make sure that I don't look at what other people have done, just so that I can have my own take on it. So I'm not sure if people are lighting that up or not, but it is open space here, and I wanted to light it up, so that's what we did. Um, and that's what's going on in here. And I actually have this chassis in here, obviously, right? But I have another one here because I'm doing this other hilt that's the same, and I don't have this inside the saber yet. So this is basically the chassis. I mean, that thing's, you know, 9 inches long or so, maybe 10, closer to 10 or 11. It's huge. It took 8.5 hours to print this. So what I did was right underneath, this is the battery cradle, 180 degrees from that is your auxiliary switch right here. And then you have all this open space where that open vent is on your handle. So I made that indentation in the chassis long enough or deep enough where I could slide in one of these. Try to put it in here. I need to cut a pixel off of this one, but basically like this. And it's 18 pixels long, this strip is, right? And it sits down in there. But I didn't want you to see the pixels when they lit up. So what I did is I went in here, and additionally I made a shelf right on top where I could take, I could cut some blade diffusion material, cut that out, glue that down on top so it diffuses all that light. And it helps a lot, right? I just thought that looked a lot better than actually being able to see the pixels. You know, cutting a straight line is my worst enemy. So I went through 3 of these before I cut something that I was happy with, and then I finally glued it on here. I hate cutting a straight line. I can do sabers all day, but for some reason I can't use scissors. So yeah, glue that on there. It works out really well. And then you're running a 28 millimeter bass speaker here in the back. Now this piece in the back, you can see that up against my hand. It's a smaller diameter than the rest of the chassis, right? So it comes to here and it drops down. This is 1.1 inch diameter, which is the same diameter as a 28 millimeter speaker. And the reason that we do that is because on your pommel here, take this out, your pommel is a different diameter. It's 1.1 inch diameter, and then this is, I think, 1.25, so I had to account for that. But you're going to want to watch out for this when you're screwing this on, because even though I dropped it down, it's still a very tight fit to get a 28 millimeter speaker in there. Like it almost doesn't want to fit. It's super tight, right? And then I'll show you how to get this on and off without any problems. But there is going to be some resistance here, just so that you're aware of that. So we're going to put this back on. And we'll set this off to the side, and then we'll throw a battery in here. So we'll throw a battery in. Oops, let me do it one more time. There we go. Now you can see what that blade diffusion is doing, right? I've just got this on kind of a heartbeat, but instead of seeing those 18 different pixels, which you'd see with something like this, now all the light is diffused. So that works out really well, right? So now we'll take your handle and we'll screw it on. Now when you're screwing this on, you put this on and it starts to get tight about right here. That's when that speaker is trying to go into this pommel. So you don't want to take the handle and screw it in from the handle because it will just loosen the pommel. I just take it from the pommel and screw it all on, just like this. What's happening is if you don't grab that pommel, which I didn't do all the way, it'll start loosening the pommel, which is fine. You can tighten the handle and then come back and tighten the pommel. It's no big deal. But just know that, you know, you're going to have a little bit of something here that you need to just pay attention to when you're screwing this on and off. So yeah, now we've got that coming through our handle, which is exactly what I wanted, right? You can see it just kind of heart beating there. Now when you screw this handle all the way on, it lines up with your switches in there. So you can see that switch right there, and you can see the magnet, and then you can see the magnet right here on this guy. So all you need to do, you take your activation, you put it right there. And then you come over here and you put your auxiliary. Your auxiliary switch is always going to be lined up with this light strip, right? Take your auxiliary switch and just throw it right in there, and it will home itself.
What could you give me?
So you got your LEDs working. Did a little bit of a different animation here on your handle. And then it goes back to that. This chassis is actually an all-in-one piece, right? So you've got your speaker, your battery, your board, your LED strips, both of your switches, and then on the very tip, I made this the PCB holder. You've got CCSabers LED pixels in here for your main PCB, if you can see those in there, right? I wire all this separately, and then I put it up in here, put it where it needs to go, and clock it correctly so that this handle lines up with the chassis when you screw it all in. And then I actually use this bottom switch, or this bottom grub screw is what's holding your chassis in, and it's cranked in there pretty tight so nothing ever moves. So you don't want to mess with that grub screw right there, right? Let's put a blade in it. This takes a 1-inch blade. Now, for the purpose of this demo, I'm not going to use the blade retention because it is pretty tight.
What could you give me? Everything.
Just like that. So now you got a nice unstable blade because this is the Exegol sound font I put on here just to demo it. And you got a nice scrolling effect right here. I'm not going to go too tough with it because I'm still JB welding the shroud. But your blue button over here is your auxiliary. You got blade lock up, right? So if you hit the blade or the saber, it's going to initiate blade lockup until you got battle mode, and it will stay like that until you pull away from it, right? And then we could twist off. Now, of course, you could swing on. If you didn't want to twist off, you could just tap the button, and that does it too. And then we can go to the next sound font. This is a fire blade, fire font. So that is the animation in your handle when this is off. This is the kit scanner, basically, from Knight Rider. If I just haven't aged myself, right? So that's what's going on when the saber is off on this font. And then it goes to that. And then your stock fonts. Your stock fonts, you don't have any additional programming that I did here. So when you turn your blade on, this is just going to mimic your blade. Just like that. I'll do one or two more just so you can see it, right?
Smooth gray.
Fire blade, fire handle. And we'll do one more.
Smooth fuzz.
Just a nice red blade. And we'll go ahead and take the blade out. So yeah, that's how the saber operates. I know it's a lot. It's probably a lot more than what you're used to. This is definitely a unique setup from what I've done in the past. I've done a few sabers by now, and this is the first time I've ever put magnets on the switches, although I've seen other people do that. What you want to do is the same thing that we did from the very beginning, is we're going to come over here and we're just going to pull the activation switch right out. But you will need your tool, right, to get your blue switch out. And I'll show you why. I did it like that when we take the handle out. So we'll come over here and we'll grab our auxiliary switch. Oops.
CNC.
Just like that. And then we will just unscrew the handle. These switches came from Jawas Junkyard with holes in them for the magnets. So like, you know, it was his intention that they be set up this way. So that's what I did. Um, I brought these magnets and these switches all the way up to the inner diameter as best as or as far as I could without interfering with the handle sliding on and off. So the height of your switches are what they are, right? I couldn't make your auxiliary switch any higher because I wouldn't have been able to slide the handle on, right? So that you're just going to need to find a tool to take this out and practice doing that, but you'll get it. But anyway, so when you get that handle off, come over here from the positive side and pull the battery out just like that. And then, yeah, it's that easy, man. And we'll take our, take the handle and slide it back on. You and I didn't really talk too much about this install. You just kind of sent it to me and asked me to do my thing on it. So hopefully you like what I did with the handle blinkies and how everything came out. Let me know if you got any questions. If not, we'll try to get this out in the mail to you tomorrow. All right, thanks, buddy.